Which book for tonight? Girl Blues, that's a big one. Mysteries Humphrey, no. Janet Wood. Probably got a series on that. Millie Jane, those are fun. Ooh. The Princess and the Pea. However, not the pea of the normal story. Princess Pia Scarlet wants to sleep on the top bunk. That's the only way she can see fireflies, but her sister, darling Millicent, refuses to switch bunks until Pia stops wetting the bed. So they make a bet. 7 nights dry, and Pia gets to see the fireflies. Which sister will win? I forget who I was last reading this to. So, Chapter 1. 7-year-old Princess Pia Scarlet hopped on her left foot and she changed to her right. She bent down low. With a mighty push, she jumped as high as possible, and just like a spring reaching for the sky. It did her no good. The high window over the moat and next to the drawbridge had a wonderful view, and night after night her older sister, the darling Millicent, would tell Princess Pia Scarlet how grand it looked, but alas, Princess Pia Scarlet couldn't see it. That put the princess in a terrible mood, and with a groan, Princess Pia Scarlet, quick jumping, she dropped onto the bottom bunk. Looking up the window, she frowned. I can see a star, but it's not even twinkling. Can't I sleep on the top bunk, please? The darling Millicent put a finger over the side of the bunk. She wiggled it back and forth. No. Poor Princess pees a lot. Not until you stop peeing the bed. Stars are all you can see. Oh, look, Mother's maid just kissed the stable's hand. Princess Pia Scarlet stuck out her tongue, but her sister didn't see it. From the top bunk, the darling Millicent could see everything that had happened outside the castle. In the morning, she watched the king's soldiers march in fine, even lines. That didn't make Princess Pia Scarlet jealous. In the afternoon, the darling Millicent described how the royal gardeners clipped the bushes and they shaped them like bunnies and dogs and crowns. Oh, that didn't make Princess Pia Scarlet pout, but the firelights are dancing tonight, the darling Millicent announced from her high seat at bedtime. Now this made Princess Pia Scarlet mad. She wanted to see the fireflies. She wanted to watch them shining gold against the black night sky. Around and around they flutter, making the lights shows in the air. Princess Pia Scarlet sighed, but knew it would not do any good to cry. Nothing would change until her sheets would stay dry. Oh, fee-fi-fooey, Princess Pia Scarlet stated the next morning while her mother brushed her hair. Oh, at this rate, I'll never get to see the fireflies till I'm old and gray. Proper princesses don't say fee-fi-fooey, corrected the fair queen. Darling Millicent, wouldn't it hurt to take turns with your little sister? The darling Millicent shook her head as she rolled her eyes. Oh, I'm not sleeping on the bottom until she stops peeing the bed. The pee might soak down through the mattress and hit me right in the eye. Proper princesses don't say pee, her mother said. It's a rude term. Please say wet the bed instead. Yes, Mamma. The darling Millicent held her hands in front of her dress and said in a most proper tone, Pia Scarlet, you may not sleep on the top bunk until I'm sure you won't wet the bed right into my eye. Princess Pia Scarlet crossed her arms in front of her chest. She narrowed her eyes, but then she got an idea that was better than a pout. She snapped her fingers and yelled, How about if I have dry sheets for 1 week, 1 whole week without any accidents? Proper princesses don't yell, said the fair queen. Sorry, Princess Pia Scarlet put her fingers behind her back. She crossed them for good luck. The darling Millicent grinned. You can't do it, so okay, it's a deal. We'll take turns sleeping on the top bunk after you've been dry for 7 days. Yes, 7 whole days. and she held up her hands and counted off her fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just you wait, Princess Pia Scarlet said. In a week, I'll have what I want. And then, just like ladies and gentlemen at the court, they shook on it. Remember, our bodies aren't all the same, warned the Fair Queen. Pia Scarlet, if you'll just be patient, your body will grow out of it. I promise someday you'll see the fireflies. But Princess Pia Scarlet didn't want to wait. Chapter 2. Princess Pia Scarlet had to find a way to stop wetting the bed. She studied the problem. What happened when she wet the bed? She had no idea because she was always asleep when she had to go. The princess snapped her fingers. Somehow, someway, in the middle of the night, she had to get up and go to the bathroom. Waiting until morning would be too late. What could be loud enough to wake her from a deep sleep? She thought, and she thought, and she went in search of a clock. First, she tried to get one that belonged to her parents, the fair queen and king. Sitting on the edge of their bed, big feather bed, she set the timepiece. 1, 2, 3, ding, ling, ling, ling. The kind king sat up straight. He'd been napping under the covers on the other side of the bed. He looked funny with his beard half pushed up and down. Time to eat already. He rubbed his belly. Good, because I'm hungry. No, Daddy. Princess Pia Scarlet reached over and smoothed his beard. Now both sides turned down. It's still an hour until dinner. He rubbed his head. But didn't I hear the alarm go off? Sorry, Daddy. I did that. Proper princesses don't make Daddy think it's dinner time when it isn't. He laid back down and began to snore. Princess Pia Scarlet crept out of the room. It was just as well. That alarm clock had been too soft to wake her from a deep sleep. As she walked down the hall, she smelled baking bread. She snapped her fingers. The clock in the kitchen was good and loud. Princess Pia Scarlet hurried. Reaching the kitchen, she climbed on top of the table. Princess Pia Scarlet set the timer to go off in 3 minutes. 1, 2, 3. Bzzz. The princess grinned. She clapped her hands. Oh, this'll work. Princess Pia Scarlet, the royal cook, wiped her hands on her big apron. Oh, what are you doing in here? Do you want to fall and break your neck? Oh, a silly question. Of course, Princess Pia Scarlet didn't want to fall. She didn't want to break her neck either. Who would want that? I need to borrow this clock, the baking clock. Oh, then how will we know when the bread is done? Said the royal cook as she shook her head, causing the ties in her hat to swing. Oh, silly, silly princess. That would be, what would the kind king say to burn bread? But proper princesses don't climb on tables, the cook interrupted. Besides, the clock is stuck on the wall. You can't take it down. The royal cook was indeed right. There was there a clock anywhere in the castle, though it'd be loud enough? One not used by parents who were stuck to a wall. Princess Pia Scarlet wandered down the hall. She came to a big door. She snapped her fingers. A place to find things no one would miss. Up in the attic. Under a cobweb and next to a big box of winter clothes, she found the right clock. Large and gold, it had a great loud bong that followed by a little ding-ling. Princess Pia Scarlet dusted off her dress and she straightened her crown. This should send me right running to the bathroom and after I go, well, then I won't go. And after this day, I won't be known as Princess Peaslot. That night, Princess Pia Scarlet hid the clock under her bed until she was sure that the darling Millicent had fallen asleep. She then wound the clock up, and she placed it on the pillow beside her bed. No way she would miss its great big bong or its ding-a-ling. And around midnight, the bong woke up the darling Millicent from her sleep. The tired castle servants tried stuffing cotton into their ears. From the crib, baby Angelica cried for her nurse. It even woke the kind king and the fair queen who came running down the hallway. But the clock didn't wake up Princess Pia Scarlet. Her mother gave her a small shake. 1, 2, and 3. Once awake, Princess Pia Scarlet suddenly felt the need to go, so she hurried off and scuttled to the bathroom. Oh, fee-fi-fooey, the Princess Pia Scarlet said when she got back to her room. I guess that didn't work out so well. And everyone nodded and frowned. Now, who or what's louder than a big bonging alarm clock? Chapter 3. So the next morning, Princess Pia Scarlet put, put one bold red mark on the calendar, and then she thought and she thought. What woke up people besides a clock? She snapped her fingers. A rooster, of course. She ran to the barn in search of one. She found chickens. Chickens didn't crow, they laid eggs. Princess Pia Scarlet wasn't looking for breakfasts. And at last she saw a big rooster. His red cock comb raised as he marched and croaked lines about in the barnyard. Princess Pia Scarlet zigged, the rooster zagged. Princess Pia Scarlet skagged, and the rooster ran right through a bunch of upset hens, squawking and flapping their wings. As they ran this way and that way, it created a terrible fuss. And with her hands on her hips, Princess Pia Scarlet stamped a royal foot. Hey, Missy Princess, what are you doing? Called the voice. Princess Pia Scarlet paused, and the royal head farmer stood up looking at her, his rough hands stuck deep in his pockets of his overalls. Oh, proper princesses shouldn't scare poor old roosters, he said. But I need him to crow for me. Won't crow for you now. I have to wait until morning. And he walked off, saying something about the lack of proper princesses. Roosters only crow in the mornings. Oh, Princess Pia hadn't thought of that. She sat on the pile of hay and she sighed in the light of the rooster's eyes. It would crow for her during the night, but then she would already be awake and wouldn't need the rooster to wake her. She sighed and groaned. It'd be too late if he crowed after she wet the bed. Would she ever find a way to stop wetting the bed? Feeling sad, Princess Pia Scarlet left the chicken in the yard and she shuffled across the moat to the bridge. About to enter the castle, she paused and watched the royal guards in the summer sun. And then she had an idea. She issued an order, one she hoped that wouldn't cause much of a fuss as the clock did. Good night, Princess Pia-Scarlet, the darling Millicent said as she climbed into the top bunk. The fireflies look great as they dance in the garden. Too bad you can't see them. Oh, look, there's the stable boy sitting with the assistant's cook. But Princess Pia Scarlet didn't say a word. The darling Millicent soon fell asleep and started to snore. Now that's a noise, Princess Pia Scarlet said as she covered her ears. Even after the snoring stopped, it took her a while to go to sleep. The butterflies in her stomach wouldn't be still. Would her plan finally work, or in the morning would they have to change her sheets again? And around midnight, the royal trumpeter entered the room. He had been told by Princess Pia Scarlet that he would blew sharp notes, loud. The horn jolted darling Millicent awake from a good dream. The tired castle servants tried counting sheep, and from her crib baby Angelica wailed for her nurse. It even woke the kind king and the fair queen, who hurried down the hallway. But the horn didn't wake Princess Pia Scarlet. Her mother gave her a small shake. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Awake! Princess Pia Scarlet felt the need to go, so she hurried off to the bathroom. Oh, fee-fi-fooey, said the Princess Pia Scarlet as she crawled into bed. I guess that didn't work very well either. Everyone's fussy and frowning at me. Now, who or what's louder than a royal horn? Chapter 4. So the next morning, Princess Pia Scarlet put on a second bold red mark on the calendar. She was not having any luck so far. At breakfast, the assistant cook almost fell asleep while dipping the oatmeal. The kind king pushed back his chair and stood. For my royal duties, I think I'll take a nap. Princess Pia Scarlet, please don't interrupt it with a clock or a horn. If you do, I'll never get rid of this ache in my head. Yes, sir, Princess Pia Scarlet replied. And later that day, the fair queen said, Pia Scarlet, can we please quiet afternoon. I'm so tired. I've stuck myself twice with my embroidered needle. Yes, ma'am, Princess Pia Scarlet said. And a little later, darling Millicent told her younger sister, "You better not have anything loud planned this evening, and even if it is, I'll barely be able to stay awake to watch the fireflies tonight." Her yawn showed all her straight white teeth. "Proper princesses cover their mouths when they yawn," the Fair Queen said, covering her own. "I'll be quiet," Princess Pia Scarlet promised, and her mother put her arm around Princess Pia's shoulders. "Oh, my dear, just be patient. Not everybody's body grows at the same pace." "But," Princess Pia Scarlet stopped to cry, "nobody else my age wets the bed." "Let me tell you a secret." The Fair Queen bent so that her lips tickled Princess Pia Scarlet's ear. "I wet the bed until I was 8." And Princess Pia Scarlet widened her eyes. "You did?" The Fair Queen nodded. "How did you stop?" "Well, my body started telling me when to wake up, just like yours will." "Thanks for telling me, Mama." And her mother touched Princess Pia Scarlet on the nose. "Does it make you feel better knowing that I had the same problem?" "Yes, ma'am," Princess Pia Scarlet said. But it really didn't. Her body wouldn't learn to do it right. I think I think I'll go take a nap," she told her mother. But instead of going to her room, she slipped into the nursery. The royal nurse glared over baby Angelica's head at Princess Pia Scarlet. The royal nurse put a finger to her lips. "Shh." Princess Pia Scarlet nodded, and she sat on the floor pillow. The royal nurse didn't object. She didn't seem to be frowning quite a lot. The pillow was soft and felt warm and cozy. Princess Pia Scarlet's eyes began to close. And Princess Pia Scarlet woke up with a jerk. The royal nurse popped a bottle into baby Angelica's mouth. "You're lucky," Princess Pia Scarlet told her sister. "No one expects you to stay dry." "Oh, that makes me so sad." Baby Angelica blew bubbles, and Princess Pia Scarlet giggled at this. "You're cute when you're not crying." Her eyes widened, and she snapped her fingers. At last, she had a plan that couldn't fail. And that night, Princess Pia Scarlet slipped from her room. She found what she wanted. She crept back to bed, and from the top bunk, the darling Millicent said, "Please be good. I do need my beauty sleep." But not a peep came from Princess Pia Scarlet. She cuddled something soft and close to her chest. And around midnight, a hungry baby Angelica began to cry. The royal nurse found the baby's crib empty, and she followed the angry yells, and finding the baby in bed with Princess Pia Scarlet, she gave Angelica a bottle to shush her tears. The crying woke up the darling Millicent from her drooling. The tired castle servant tried plugging her ears with her fingers, and baby Angelica had already bawled for her nurse. It even woke the kind king and the fair queen, who came stumbling down the hall. But the crying still didn't wake up Princess Pia Scarlet. Her mother gave her a small shake. 1, then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and 5. Awake! Princess Pia Scarlet felt she needed to go, so she hurried off to the bathroom, going fast, not slow. I just realized some of these rhyme. "No fee-fi-fooey," said Princess Pia Scarlet as she turned out the light. "Guess that didn't work very well either. Everyone's fussy, and now I gotta change. Now who or what's louder than a crying baby?" Okay. Princess Pia Scarlet put a third bold red mark on the calendar. A sleeping air queen sat her middle daughter down for a talk. "You can't keep waking people up at night. Everyone's upset. The young maids are crying for no reason at all. The cooks burnt the oatmeal, and this very morning your father's royal soldier almost fell on his own sword. He started dozing instead of saluting." Princess Pia Scarlet sighed. "Oh, then I'll always be known as Princess Peas-a-Lot." Mother gave her a hug. "I promise that your body will grow someday. I know you'll sleep on the top bunk soon and see the fireflies." "Someday," said Princess Pia Scarlet, "but not today, not tomorrow either." That night, an unhappy Princess Pia Scarlet said her prayers and climbed into the bed. and the darling curled Millicent's curly-haired head appeared from above. Could we please have some quiet tonight, Princess Pia-Scarlet? Yes, replied Princess Pia Scarlet. No more trying to wake up for me. But that night, deep in her sleep, something woke Princess Pia Scarlet. She listened. She heard nothing. She blinked her eyes as she sat up. But she saw no one walking around. With a squirm and a wiggle, she realized that she actually had to go. She had woken up all by herself, without any alarm, without any rooster, without any baby to wake her. And then the next night, and again. And both she and her bed had stayed dry for the first time in a long time. And then the next, and the next. And each morning she put on a bold new mark on her calendar, not red, but blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. I've gone one whole week without wetting the bed, she announced to her mother as she brushed her hair. Seems your body is growing, said the fair queen, and Princess Pia Scarlet hugged her mother. Just like yours did, she whispered. But, the darling Millicent said. 7 days, Princess Pia Scarlet said, and she held up her hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And her mother said, Tonight, my dear, you'll see the fireflies. However, said the darling Millicent, we made a bet. We shook, and I haven't wet my bed. Princess Pia Scarlet told her sister. We do agree, don't we? Oh, sorry. We do agree, don't we? The fair queen said to her oldest daughter, that Princess Pia Scarlet has fulfilled her part of the deal. She hasn't wet her bed in 7 days, so she gets to sleep on the top bunk. The darling Millicent sighed a great sigh. Yeah, I guess so. I don't like it one bit. Proper princesses should be good losers, the fair queen said. Yes, ma'am. Darling Millicent stuck out her hand. Good job, she told her sister, and Princess Pia Scarlet shook her hands and didn't even gloat. After all, proper princesses must always be good winners, too. That night, Princess Pia Scarlet lay on her stomach, and she stared out the window over the moat next to the drawbridge. Oh, the fireflies are so beautiful. They look just like a tiny light show. And from the bottom bunk, the darling Millicent didn't say a word. And from that night on, Princess Pia Scarlet spent many nights in the top bunk. Did she ever have an accident? Well, of course, but not many. And the pea never did flow down to hit the darling Millicent in the eye. Of course not. How absurd. The end. That was The Princess and the Pea. Definitely a different one from the other Princess and the Pea. Oh, I should put this bookmark back in. I think it was page 21. All right. So essentially, the moral of the story is just wait and time will tell if you're going to be a bedwetting bad or not. Good night and sleep tight.